butter up with your runner-ups today. Welcome to another episode, guys. I'm your host, Caleb Commend. This is my co-host, Yuval. How's it going, Yuval?
So, it was a good line there.
Not too bad, eh? Came with that on the spot. Come on. Come
Yeah,
on. We got
butter up, buttercup.
creative intros. Hooks you
Yeah.
guys in, right? No, that's
Yep.
awesome. How's your week been, bro?
Been good. Been
Yeah?
excited. Waiting to go fly to Arizona. So,
Wait, you're going to Arizona?
yes, sir. So
Tell
are
us a little
you.
bit about it. What's going on?
Yeah, so we got invited to Deal House and pretty much like almost a 3 week sales training that we get to do make calls all day and yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
seeing you and a bunch of other guys as well.
Yeah.
So that'll be sick.
Yeah, no, it will be, guys. We're going to Arizona. We're literally leaving tomorrow. I know my
Yep.
flight is pretty early, so I got to be at the airport around 6 a.m. Feeling good about that, getting packed. But we wanted to throw in an episode right before it actually, to give in a little bit more insight. We wanted to talk about today, kind of just like the game of money, the system of how money was created and how the actual North American economy revolves around money and debt. Actually, debt is actually a big part of the system that people do not realize and do their due diligence in research. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, just our expectations. What are we looking forward to for Arizona, and what the goal is over there, and right. Hopefully, we can secure a deal and just give you a little potentially more podcasts in Arizona, which would be cool with Ben, with a couple more boys, Santiago. We're hoping for that, and we can just go from there and just have fun while we do it. So keep posted for those future episodes. Some of them will be in Arizona, but no, yeah, Yuval, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about, just how money works, how the Federal Reserve came up with their strategies and building the American economy as it is today, right? How they actually create money. So there's two ways that I kind of did a little bit more research. I just took a note over here, so I'm going to be reciting off of this, and then asking you all. We're just going to kind of brainstorm on what we think and what we can apply for our lives. But there's two ways that Federal Reserve will be making money. All right, we're going to dive right in. Bank lending is number one, and then government deficit spending. Right, through the central banks and bonds. Do you know a little bit about bonds, Yuval?
I've heard about them, but I don't think I fully wrap my head around what exactly a bond is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's like a share of the bank or the money. I'm not
It
exactly sure.
basically is. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a complex. I mean, a topic you can dive into that, but essentially, like you kind of hit it, is just around government kind of shares with tied in with the bank, and how the government will spend money to actually create money. And what people do is they invest in those bonds, which brings back the money back to like the central bank, back to the government. So it's basically just a giant system. It's pretty complex, but we can dive into that. So number one, banks create money through what? Lending, right? So you will sign a loan contract, right? A promise to repay. Every consumer will do this when they take out a loan, right? The bank logs that promise as an asset in their books, all right? The bank simultaneously creates a deposit in your account. So that money is literally created out of thin air, right? When that deposit, when that's actually issued, right? So, right, it didn't come from, it wasn't transferred cash, right? Gold didn't move. We can talk about that. And then nobody else's savings funded that account. A lot of people think, okay, well, the bank uses other people's money, right, to actually subsidize your loans. It's a yes and no statement, but it's pretty cool. You basically create money when you take out a loan. That's the bottom line, right? It's called endogenous money creation, right? So you're not using
Inflation.
anybody. Sorry,
It's called inflation.
inflation. We're gonna dive into that. That's actually next up. Um, but basically, yeah, how can we actually deal with that? So it's called endogenous money creation. Money is created inside the economy through credit expansion. So we actually use credit expansion to grow the economy, to grow our bottom line, right? So there's a supply of money. It's basically invisible, guys. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around because it's not based off of anything. It's literally based off of debt, right? So in 19 oh what was it in the 1980s, I'm pretty sure President Nixon or something like that took cash money off of the gold standard. So cash wasn't backed by gold or anything, right? Or any like, just tangible asset. It turned into debt. It turned into like an invisible, literally perception of what we create money. So whatever the government abided by, whatever he decided the value was, is kind of how it went. It's crazy. It's very, and that's where a lot of manipulation can come to hand, right? Especially when there's no intrinsic value, when it's just all intangible. It could be, it's a big responsibility that again the government needs to take care of, and sometimes there's a lot of controversy on just bad problems with the government, but that's a conversation for another time. But basically, debt equals money. All right. So if you think about this, if all debts were paid literally today, right now, 90% of all money would vanish. The global economy would collapse instantly. What do you think about that? You will?
It's a crazy stat.
It's a sad, yeah.
I feel like that's also kind of links into how like Kiyosaki also says, he pretty much lives off. I don't exactly know how he says it, but he pretty much like lives off debt. Like his money is
You
debt.
do. I'm glad you brought it
And
that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Basically, his rich dad has always told him he goes off this philosophy, but if you take on personal debt, always make sure it's small. If you take on big debt, make sure somebody else is paying for it. What do you think about that?
it's good.
Yeah, 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 right. Is again, if you're managing all the risk, if you're managing that asset, or again, we're relating this to real estate, then why should you put in those funds, right? Especially if people at our disposal can fund projects, and then we also can have cash flow subsidize that debt payment, right? So let somebody else manage those payments as you can be living and have an asset basically for free, right? That's the best thing when you get into rentals, get into burr method, especially the world of real estate is unbelievable. I actually like it because this note will correlate with some real estate tactics, but let's move on. So governments create money through deficit spending. So this is point number 2, which we talked about with bonds, right? So the government will issue bonds, right? Investors, banks, and the central bank will actually buy those bonds. The government deposits newly created money into the economy, right? That's basically what it is. So government spending equals new money, right? You just created through thin air. Um, but what happens is taxation actually destroys that money. So instead of constantly creating money, and just having unlimited supply, it's not really how it works, and it would be too unstable that again our economy would crash if that happened. But what happens is taxation actually helps balances that pendulum, because when the government creates bonds, right, the supply of money goes up, but what happens is taxation will deduct that, and it'll kind of balance that pendulum, right? So that's basically how monetary sovereign nations operate, right? North America, especially. I don't know too much about how again Europe, the European market and Asian market is, but again, love to fill in myself with that later on. But what inflation really is, um, yeah, what inflation really is, and how we can again just base it with the debt system, right? So a lot of people have the perception, right, Yuval, of inflation is just prices going up. Before I tell you this, what do you think inflation is?
I mean, inflation is just pretty much diminishing the value of a currency. So, uh,
Why is it
like
getting
print
diminished? What
because it's
action is being occurred?
well because they're printing off more money, right? So it's less rare, meaning it has lower value. Uh, so it's like how you find a rare coin and it has a certain price to it. But if there was 10 million of the same coin, people wouldn't pay $100,000 for the same coin.
Exactly.
So
It's
I
simply
think
supply and
there's
demand.
just printing money. So that's also something I heard is like the whole planet together is like. Do you know how much in debt they are? I don't
Yeah,
remember. A couple of trillion, and then
couple
someone
trillion.
said like they're a couple of trillion in debt to who? Who are
To
they in
who?
debt to? Right?
Right? Right?
Everyone's in debt to everyone, and then eventually you don't know who's in debt to what. And then
Exactly. Because it's just a
yeah,
system that they created, right? It's basically what the Federal Reserve is like. We need debts to expand, right? Like you have to see that their goal, the reason why they took gold off of the the standard was it called the cash standard or whatever. to back cash is basically because gold was scarce. It was only a limited amount, so they can only print as much as gold that they had, right? But
Yeah.
gold took time to refine, to extract from the ground as a piece of metal, right? Whereas when you live in debt, when you live in this, intangible, just money creation paradox, it's endless. It's unlimitless. You can do anything you want, right, with this and create how much you want. So basically it's just a whole system that they created that everybody's indebted to whom, and that's basically what capitalism is at the end of the day, is who's indebted to whom, right? We kind of mentioned that. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki talks about that as well. But no, it's a cool concept to wrap around. And again, this is just financial intelligence that everybody just needs to take time to understand how it works, right? Because at the end of
It's
the day,
funny
like,
they also started the gold off nothing, right?
right,
Like before, it was just I'll give you this sheep, you'll give me, I don't know, a bed or something.
yeah,
So they would
right.
actually trade valuable things, but now they kind of, I don't exactly know why they decided to go on gold. I don't know
Hmm.
what, maybe because it was shiny, but there's
Because
a
it was
lump.
the most valuable back then. That's the currency.
Why
That
was
was
it
like,
valuable?
it was somebody else's perception at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's all somebody's
Someone
perception.
decided I'll give you a lot for this piece.
Who
So then,
decided, right?
yeah,
Come
that's
on.
what I'm saying.
Who decided that gold was gold and silver was silver? It's just a piece of metal, guys, at the end of the day. I like how you mentioned, yeah, it's just shiny. It's a good
Yeah.
point, right? Interesting. So yeah, we can move on from there. That's a good point. But yeah, inflation again is not just prices going up for no reason, but inflation is just the currency delusion caused by money supply expansion. So when we increase the amount of supply that there is in money, prices go up because there's more supply of cash, which means it's less scarce, right? So the value goes down. Does that make sense? Right. So
You're changing its rarity, its amount.
it's
Yeah.
exactly the amount of the amount dictates the value, right? So, um, so point number one, right? Expansion of credit. So people borrowing more. When consumers, corporations, or governments take on debt, the money supply expands, right? More money equals diluted purchasing power. Because what happens is, yes, our um, prices go up, but what happens is the system doesn't get updated for payroll, right? We're still making the same amount of money. We're still making, right? Let's say you're an employee and you're working at a job, right? Well, your purchasing power actually goes down year over year because inflation increases what, closer to I think the margin is closer to 2 to 5% year over year, somewhere between there. But people still get paid the same. So people actually, or employees and self-employed will actually, yeah, lose their purchasing power, unfortunately. And that's why it's important to find and seek out the right side of that cash flow quadrant. I am so serious when I say that, the business owner side, the investor side, because there's so many loopholes and just legal, again, ways that can, yeah, just protect you and shelter, to hedge basically all of your assets, all of your ways to survive. So we can definitely dive into that later on. Point number two is, yeah, supply side constraints, right? If demand rises faster than supply, right? Housing, energy, food, materials, if those things rise in price, right? Um, yeah, just the purchasing power, yeah, decreases, right? So people won't be able to afford those things when it comes to what, real estate or food or energy, and people will actually be having to spend more, because one thing that wasn't listed here is your payroll, right? The things that you're earning money, right? And that's why earning is so neglect, like, just, just abolished on, right? Like, no, like, you shouldn't be earning money because it won't keep you in the game, right? You're actually going to be losing a lot at the end of the day, and you might not be able to get where you want to go in life when you're just earning money, but creating money, right? Again, as we're talking about the gold, who came up with the perception of the value of gold, right? Who came up with the perception of the value of money today? And the best thing is that it's covered by intangible nothing. It's just debt. So we create the value, right? You create the value of money at the end of the day. That's what's amazing, right? So through negotiation, that's why real estate is probably the best inflation hedge I have here. Why? Because inflation boosts replacement cost, right? Debt erodes the real value and rents rise with incomes. That's probably the best thing too, is like year over year, again, if you are focusing on rentals or whatever, your rent can actually go up with inflation, right? While your debt is actually fixed. So no matter how much inflation rises, your debt is fixed, and you won't be able to, that won't rise either. So inflation actually helps with debt, um, which is good, right? So you benefit on both sides. It's cool. But you can only do that if you are partaking in the business owner or investor side. So why this? Yeah. What are your thoughts before I jump to the next point?
Yeah, I actually just searched it up, and it looks like it really they didn't really just give gold value just because of its like visual properties, like physical characteristics, like shiny, kind of squishy. They said not
Wow.
squishy, but you could bite it.
Yeah.
So
You could. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
No, for sure. It's
so
like
yeah,
a
that's
little.
that's kind of funny that they put something with so much value just because of its. It didn't actually give them anything, but they just thought it looked nice, I guess.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. That just gives us, I mean, that's enlightening, right? That's such a cool opportunity that you see that you're not bound by anything. Literally, you have the freedom in this country. Like that's what's amazing, is you're not living in communism. You're not living in a dictatorship, and everybody's panicking that we are, or whatever, that it's transitioning into, right? But what am I doing now in order so I can protect myself? Okay, like I don't know if it will. I think it's, at the end of the day, that's all noise. That, again, that the news and that everybody's conspiracy is broadcasting. But to really, again, what the wealthy really think about is the opportunity that lays within now, right? The capitalist mindset. What can I do now to, um, again, just create the value of money, because I have that choice. I have everything at my disposal. We just got to do our due diligence to research, to be educated, and to apply that and take massive action, right? So it's unfortunate that people don't actually take time to do that, right? It's just the lack of education at the end of the day. So we can dive here is why the system requires people to stay in debt, right? This is a big thing that people really can't understand, right? But like a debt-based system cannot function without constant borrowing, right? When you repay a loan, the bank deletes the money from the system. Money enters through debt, money exits through repayment. Does that make sense? So you're just canceling, you're just creating, but canceling. But what happens is that that supply was able to just be given to you immediately, right? When I apply for a mortgage or whatever, like with the bank, with an institution, um, it's just what given immediately, right? It's not like, okay, we have to acquire that, we have to dig more gold, or we have to. That's the beauty of debt, right? Is that okay? We can give out the supply immediately, so it's a cool thing, and it'll just cancel out once you repay. So if people, yeah, stopped taking out loans, right? Everybody's like, live without debt, right? And only survive off of what, cash. Well, if we stop taking loans, money supply would shrink, GDP would contract, unemployment would actually spike, because think about it, the business owners wouldn't be taking out loans to operate their actual business. Therefore, they don't have the capital on hand to pay those employees. Deflation kicks in, so the economy would actually just crash, right? And the system would implode. We talked about that. So it's pretty cool to think about it.
This
Now,
is
this
if everyone kind of jumped off banks and started giving each other stuff for free.
basically, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, it's a whole system that you guys can't beat. But why try to fight it and complain about it when you could just educate yourself about it and actually just use it to your advantage at the end of the day? So diving into that, we can see how the wealthy actually use this to their advantage, okay? Right? So the wealthy don't fight the system, they weaponize it, right? So what we do, step number one, if you guys hear this, write this down, right? Borrow cheap money, right? Inflation, plus what central bank intervention keeps interest rates artificially low. That's a whole science of why they, whatever. At the end of the
Say
day,
that again.
Yeah, I'll say that again. Inflation plus central bank intervention keeps interest rates artificially low. Again, it's just banks have low interest rates. Just know that. Like that's a whole scientific term, honestly. But you can borrow things up to six, well, what, 4 to 6% today, and that's relatively low. You won't be able to find that anywhere
I mean,
else.
they have low interest rate because they give you like what, 50 years amortization or something?
Basically 30 here in North America, and then I know in Europe it's closer to 70. Right? They actually have a limit. It's crazy. Yeah. So
Pay
again,
us back when you're dead.
right? Yeah. Yeah, basically. Just pass it on to the future, right?
Yeah.
And which is brutal. But which is cool. Inflation erases the real value of your debt, right? So we talked about that. So that helps out, right? Again, if we are borrowing Yuval for a longer period of time, yes, it's quite a bit, but that inflation actually cancels it out if you think about it. As
I mean, that's if the inflation and your interest rates are the same, right? Like
I mean,
if the
basically.
inflation rate was the same or higher, then that would mean that then you're like paying less, right? Over time you're paying less because the value of what you're paying is different.
Yep. Yep.
But if your interest rate is higher than the inflation, you're still kind of paying the same, no?
hmm Well, exactly. Yeah. It's something that I would, yeah, you know what? I just like picked this up today, so like I'm learning this as of right
Yeah.
now. It's such a cool concept that I'm trying to explain because I actually understand it better when I do explain it in a
Yeah.
way, right? So, um, all you guys, I mean, all you have to know is that yeah, through inflation, your debt is kind of divided, right? Yeah, through interest rates. Hopefully, it's the same rate at the end of the day, but no, point number two will be buy protective assets, real estate, and business. I know Robert Kiyosaki will always talk about how his rich father told him the best thing you can do is build businesses and invest in real estate, right? Buy real estate. So, again, assets that generate cash flow, appreciation, tax deductions, collateral for further loans. Collateral is probably one of the best words ever because number one, it sounds really cool, and the meaning is actually like it could really help you out in scaling your portfolio for real estate. Real estate is truly the crown jewel because inflation drives rent, right? Replacement costs rises, property values track GDP, which you can actually influence, right, GDP over time, and debt gets cheaper over time. Um,
Do
yeah,
you think property values increase because of inflation? I mean, besides the fact that the price goes up just because of the inflation, if you were to actually take that number and take off the inflation, it would be more than what it was 10 years ago because the
correct.
property did increase in value.
It did, but there's
So
always market cycles. So
would it be
through
fair to say that inflation raises the value of the property, not just the price?
say that one more time.
Like, obviously the price goes up because inflation goes up.
Yep. Yep.
But besides the price itself, the actual value, like if you were to take off the inflation, the value would be higher over time.
Yes. Yep.
So
Inflation is basically just the cherry on top for the wealthy, right? Um, but what? Hmm. So what do you like? What are you trying? What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say is the inflation the reason for increase in property value?
No, no, no. Well, I don't believe so. I think it's just the cherry on top, right? As I stated, it's
I
just
think it's just
that
more people, more demand.
yes, 100%
Yeah.
more demand, right? And it really depends on the economy. There's so many other factors that drive FMV, right? As we're talking about it, um, right? Just like other again productivity that's happening in the city, right? The population, right? What's going on politic? There's so many different factors that relates to the FMV, the fair market value of
Yeah.
a single property, right? It's not just inflation. Um, Again, we can dive into that later on. I mean, we can get into specifics later for sure. But I think right now, yeah, there's just so many.
It's a deep rabbit hole.
It is. It's a deep rabbit hole because there's so many things that at the end of the day, it's just a buyer's market, right? Flat market or a seller's market, and it comes in waves all the time. You'll always,
Yeah.
again, there's always cycles. always. But as we know, over time, real estate is the number one thing that is that just appreciated more than anything else. What's
Do you know
beautiful
why
about
there's cycles?
why
You
there's
know why?
cycles,
Why? Yeah. Why not? Why don't people just always want everything to go up? Why is there
because people
down?
are never consistent, right? If we're basically the market is based, it's dictated on the productivity of the economy, right? So one season we'll have more immigration coming in, we'll have more workers, right? A big factory was just implemented here in Windsor. Well, okay, yeah, that creates a lot of jobs, which increases a lot. It's just it's you got to dive into more of like what micro and macroeconomics to see how supply and demand affects it all. But the more productive the economy is, the more it drives demand, right? Because it becomes a more attractive city, rates will be higher, the cost of living will potentially go down or it'll fluctuate. There's so many different reasons, bro. And Robert, I mean, what did he say? Um, that oh my gosh, it was a good thought. Do you have something to say? I'm gonna try getting this thought back.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that people aren't consistent. Like right now in Christmas time, people are probably starting to slow down. Maybe not,
Exactly. Yeah.
not push so hard. Stuff like that. Kind of wait for the
See?
year to pass by for next year. So I feel like that could possibly also change.
Yeah.
The the
No, it's good.
macroeconomics, and then it kind of builds up on itself, compounds, and then has
Wars,
a
I
major
hate to bring it
impact.
up. Yeah, wars, unfortunately, things that are going all around the world. It doesn't even have to relate to the
Yeah, yeah,
country, right? Because we're having imports, we're having exports, freights, right? There's so many trades around the world that can affect the productivity, right?
yeah. That's
So,
true.
as we're talking about what dictates the market, what dictates the currency, the value of currency, right? And inflation, like just the market in general, is through debt, tax, and productivity, like GDP. What is going on with that country and how's it looking, right? Those are basically the three factors that really do affect the market, um, which is kind of cool. But um, I know I lost
It's
this
a
thought.
it's a it's a deep topic on
It's
market
such a deep
economics and
topic.
stuff like that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
definitely interesting. Uh, it wasn't interesting how they taught it in school, which so
you don't learn this in. I mean, if you dive into economics, I bet you could. Yeah, you'll dive into it a little bit for sure. High school, no way. I know. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm able to learn this, study it, apply it without going to school, I'm
that's
just
just
I'm
just just from desire, right?
it's just
So it's
desire,
not.
right? Which again, I think I have more desire in the journey that I'm in, right? Taking the road and the pace that I'm at, whereas being bombarded from, you know, university, if I were to go to, I wouldn't be in that position to apply that yet with my life. But again, the reason why we're talking about this is because we are being affected by it as of right now, as we're in real estate. We need to know about the history about money, right? Um, I think I mean it's just it
It's
correlates.
important to be informed.
It's important to be informed and teach at your own pace so you can understand it to the full extent, right? And to actually like just work through it, like to
Yeah,
immerse yourself through it because you're sitting in a lecture. Let's say again you just took micro economics in school and you're not too passionate about it or you just want a job around it. Well, always think about this, that employees will never put in 100% or the work ethic that the business owner will be, right? You as a business owner will be the best asset in the company because you care about it, right? To the full extent. Employees do at a certain extent, but it's not theirs. It's not proprietary to them. So they're not always going to have that desire like you do. So people who are in school wanting to be employees, they just have that kind of same employee mindset, right? Oh yeah, you know what?
yeah.
I'm just gonna learn this. I'm just gonna apply it to my life, right? You see it all the time in the way people act and how they speak. Um, Others are different. Sometimes that can be wrong. Sometimes employees can be just over the top and be super excited, ready to learn, um, and apply those into mega, economies, and that's what business owners try to find out. But there's just yeah, it's a very deep conversation for sure.
Yeah.
So, um, what's cool about it too is, I mean, you can use depreciation, right, and tax law to pay almost zero taxes. This is what the wealthy do, right? So in Canada, real estate is one of the most tax efficient vehicles. Oh, this is what it was. Okay, I got it back. Robert Kiyosaki. All right, hear this out. So in 1986, okay, there was a tax reform act. Okay, so what happened is a lot. This is very smart because this is what the smart, intelligence or Federal Reserve did to consumers, unfortunately. But self-employed and employees would they would buy real estate, right? They would have their own tax bracket. They would be making money and they would be making income, right? Earning income, basically. But they wanted to keep, again, everybody wants to pay the lowest tax, right? So they found out that if I were to just invest in real estate, but I would capture a loss on that because they would intentionally get a loss on that real piece of real estate, they can deduct that, right, from their income, right? So it would put them in a smaller tax bracket. So they would pay, again, less tax. So the loss would reduce their amount of tax owing. But they abolished that tactic. So the government said no more of this. You guys cannot buy real estate in this attempt to lower your tax bracket. What happened is number one, they abolished that, and they actually started pushing that. Kind of naturally pushed consumers, employees, self-employed out of real estate. But what do you think they started investing into? If they stopped investing in real estate and left it for the wealthy, what did they invest in? What else did the government create for consumers to invest in? What if you were to guess?
Stocks or
You
bonds
got it.
or
You got it. Exactly. So paper assets, that's not backed by anything, which is only backed by debt. So now you're staying in debt or whatever you do in those times, right? To get more stocks or how to purchase that. And you think it's appreciating over time, those stocks, whatever those, especially individual things, right? The thing is, corporations will only become publicly traded to make their executives more wealthier. At the end of the day, you're actually giving those corporations even more money to what? Invest in. You're giving them more money to actually invest what? Back into what? Real estate or back into the business. Well, they think they're getting a value or returns and dividends, right? Those are just pennies at the end of the day for them. So, well, all the consumers move to paper assets. That's not backed by anything. Well, real estate is because it's real. You can use it as collateral, right? So, the business owners, the investors, right, the wealthy know this. So to apply that, to truly know that real estate is the key here, and the ultimate investment with the greatest returns, number one, and it is actually backed by a tangible asset. Um, right.
my brother sent me this a while ago. It was actually a really good animation. I'll send you it after. It's a
Sure.
really good animation on talking about like what are stocks, right?
Yep.
And it's pretty much the company takes debt, yeah. They have
Yes.
debt and they pretty much sell their shares in a way to kind of pay back the debt. So they're pretty much asking for a loan, but are giving away like part of their company for that loan. So they're still trying to get debt when you buy stocks, right? So you're pretty much paying for their. I'm pretty sure you're pretty much paying for their debt by buying a stock.
You're paying their debt. Yes,
Like the
bro.
yeah, the
Yes.
company. Yeah,
With their
that's what it
debt
is.
ratio, the stock price or whatever, their IPO, their initial public offering, will be more than that or whatever. And the more people that flood into that market or that individual stock, the more it grows and the more people buy or whatever. They live in the spread, right? So if their debt's down here and their stock grows to up here,
Hmm.
they're just getting a bunch of cash for free, which is making them, dude, send me that.
I'll
Yo,
definitely. Yeah, it's a really good animation. It's an old. It's an old like 19 something just
yeah,
cartoon drawing.
yeah, dude. That's how they do it. That's why you become publicly traded, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, I was thinking about it. I'm like, what if we got into, again, real estate investing and you became publicly traded? I don't know too many companies that are publicly traded for real estate, right?
Yeah, found it.
Send it to me for sure. Beautiful, beautiful.
Really
Because I
good
was thinking,
drawing. Yeah, really good animation.
okay, okay, all right. Because I was thinking about it. I'm like, what? Like, there's not too many, real estate companies that are publicly traded. Do you know of any? Like, I'm not talking about like RITs, like real estate investment trusts. Those are a little bit different, right? Um, That's a whole other
I
topic
mean,
too.
there's like BlackRock and stuff, but I don't
That's all asset
exactly.
management, bro. That's all like retirement. The BlackRock's huge, the biggest asset management company in the
Yeah,
world. But the thing is, they don't have their own stock, do they? Or mutual fund?
I'm pretty
Or
sure they do. I actually saw that SpaceX itself has stocks, but it's all internal, so it's not like public stocks. So that's
dude,
interesting as well.
it's
If they're
it's
trying,
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, if they're trying to get debt, which is pretty, I think that's the only reason you would have stocks is you're pretty much selling your stock for debt, and then someone else is buying that, so they pay back the bank in that way.
But why
Um,
answer this is why is the company wanting to get in debt to what? Just make more money at the end of the day?
well, if there's more demand, right, and they don't have the power and the funds to initially bump it up and be able to produce as much, like that video does really well in showing it in a really basic form. I'm
Yep,
definitely going to rewatch it again.
sure.
Um, and it's pretty much just almost like I want to make a rent on the house, right? And then suddenly I have 20 more houses. I don't have the money to pay for all those all at once. So I have to go get a mortgage from a bank. Yeah.
Yep.
So I can have the funds and the power to actually
So you're
do.
saying, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So you're saying that in that case, if I were to open up, like become publicly traded, and I use those funds that people invest on me at my initial public offering, right? I use those funds to grow the portfolio, to grow the company through what more employment. Well, now my question, actually, what I want to do more research on is what drives the stock price up. Like, what is the live update, right? Which is kind of cool. Like, okay, so did I acquire, one multifamily building in my portfolio? How much does that stock go up, right? That's one thing that it's all through what, like the TSX for Canada. You have the Nasdaq, and then the New York Stock Exchange, right? So there's different, I don't know, regulations for that and analysis.
I really think it's just all like supply and demand. Like I said, when there's more people that that demand your service or your product, you're gonna need more funds to be able to produce that
Sure.
or supply that kind of service, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Exactly, right? So that's how the stock price, I mean, increases, right? But I want to know
Yep.
at what, like, what's the rate? What's that formula, right? If
I
you were to
think
get
I
in
don't
deep,
know if
that's like
I don't think
deep.
it's
That's like
constant. I
deep.
don't think it's a constant rate.
Mm, mm,
Like I think it's a separate number for a company, and it's also the number changes throughout the period, right?
yeah,
That's the same
yeah,
thing
yeah.
like why Apple or all stocks kind of dip and dive all the time, right? Because they post an ad, oh, the stock goes up, but then they don't do any advertisement. Maybe the stock kind of goes down because yeah, I think that's also the same thing in like our normal markets. Why we said why do the economy drops and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, dude. It's a very relative chart. Yeah. Whoa, dude, just a whole world opens up, bro. I love that. That's freaking awesome. Um, But yeah, no, that's a very good point. We can elaborate that on. Like this can conversation go on for more like just the rest of the day. But um, if you're good,
I'm
yeah, we can
definitely
move
I'm
on.
definitely not qualified in this, so I
Right?
definitely
Yeah,
need to
dude.
learn more
We're
about
literally
stuff
just
like this.
guys. Again, not financial advice. Not take our word to this. We are literally just brainstorming for you guys
And for ourselves.
and for ourselves, literally, to get a better grasp. I know I've kind of like learned. I mean, there's a lot of value that we're exchanging right here. The synergy is high, guys. Just have a higher frequency, and you'll learn some. Right? He's on
Yeah.
my save wavelength. That's why you all and I do this stuff. But I'm done. Okay. Um, let's see where we're
Okay
at.
though.
Awesome. Yeah. So we talked about, yeah, how we use what depreciation and tax law to pay out like our taxes to zero, basically through um capital cost allowance, right? I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a Canadian term, capital cost allowance.
It just sounds like what based on your specs, what are you allowed to take, right? That's just
Basically,
what it sounds
basically.
like.
Yep, yeah. Again, using a holdco, using a holding company really shelters the amount of tax you do pay. Corporate tax is much less. I love how Robert Kiyosaki mentioned this. Okay, the reason, the way, again, wealthy people maintain their structure and status is through how they're corporate bodies, not human bodies, right? Because if you're or a personal body, right? If you're a corporate body, if you're an executive, if I'm an employee in the company, right? I'm not. I have no like. I'm basically off. He really described this how like you're off the grid because there's nothing in your name. There's nothing you own. But what happens is I control it, so I own it. If you know what I mean. That's always what Rockefeller always mentions too. Is you can't. I mean, don't own anything but control everything. That's a quote from him.
It's a
So
good quote. Yeah.
it is a really cool. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think
So
it's the same thing with like taxes as well. Like you have a company, right? You're an employee of this corporation and you get paid a certain wage or whatever, and then the rest of it is just the corporation's income and expenses and stuff like
yeah,
that. So it's not
it's a
actually,
yeah.
it's a
Mhm.
whole different entity by itself, right?
It is, dude. You're literally building like this system that's creating literally one body, right? You build a culture around it. It's literally it's a child, bro, and you got to take care of this. You got to nurture this child, bro. I'm so serious. Sometimes like people get again over exaggerated, but what happens here is that again, employees and self-employed, they really like to hoard. I feel like, and really want to control it. They want to own, right? Again, this is not, I don't think it's their fault. Again, it's just a lack, and it's the change of the economy over time. We're moving. It's so important that our mindset changes from the industrial age to the informational age, because the mindset back in the industrial age is get a safe and secure job, make sure you own things, don't, because what happened is a lot of people immigrated from Europe was again under communism and they didn't own anything. So what happened is once that Berlin Wall fell, right, now they were able to have freedom and they were able to actually own, and it felt amazing. So everybody kind of fixated on that. I want to get a job and I want to own. A lot of it changed, especially in the 1980s, with again with President Nixon taking cash off the gold standard and taking that tax reform act. There's so many different laws that were in place because we were moving. The thing is, it's so important that we're always evolving and always keeping up with those market trends, because you need to adapt. If you do not, you are going to fall behind, and you're going to get trapped in the mindset that was what even a year ago. Now we're living in more of a fast-paced world where we got to be more accountable, and be again just educated with what's going on for us to again have an advantage, and to live accordingly and to have a successful company. So we talked about, yeah, the capital cost allowance. Then we also have mortgage interest deductions. So don't forget, when you have interest on your payment or whatever, that's deductible, which is a great thing. You have all of your expense write-offs, whatever it is, right? Trips, cars, vehicles, right? Right, supplies, things like that, right? Write-offs. The ability to refinance without triggering capital gains refinancing, right? So refinancing equals tax-free cash. That's what I learned, and it's actually pretty cool. So, um, what's your opinion on what is that refinancing?
What do you mean? What's my opinion? Like, do I? I mean, if you need more cash, you already have a mortgage. I don't see. What do you mean?
Yeah,
What do you mean? What's my opinion on
so that
that?
that door opened up in my screen, and I saw that, and it actually threw me off. That was weird.
Oh,
Somebody
okay,
was trying
okay,
to
okay.
creep in.
Yeah.
Um,
Another thing I actually heard on an audiobook not too long ago. I need to finish. It's called "Eat That Frog,"
yeah,
and by Tracy. What was his name? Something Tracy. Yeah.
I don't know.
And I remember he talked about like the three Ds in business stuff, like the difference between the self-employed and the employee, and then the businessman would be like there's a strategy where you decide, delegate, and dump. So it's transitioning from the self-employed where you do everything yourself. You also have to be able to delegate stuff to other people, and be able to have the space of mind to decide whether to dump something or to pass it on to someone else
Hmm.
or to actually do it themselves. So I think
Yeah,
that was an important thing, for the mindset shift in self-employed to business owner.
dude, and you know what? It's probably it's really hard for people, honestly, to make that transition. it takes a lot of refinement and change, honestly, especially when you, I feel like when you are an immigrant from Europe, and your mindset again was to just to earn as much as you can, right, and to own as much as you can. um so unfortunately, yeah, again, just being open to change. I know, yeah, Robert Kiyosaki will always talk about be, do, have, right? I was kind of telling you about this not too long ago, but we need to ensure that we again constantly evolve, right? And we constantly change our thinking patterns and what we can, just having an open mind, right? What is the new possibility? What is the new trend? And how can I be the best I possibly can, right? How can I keep up and to create, again, the best company uh, that I can control, right? So you must be firm in who you are. You must have a characteristic of a leader, right? And to take initiative. So too many people miss this part, right? Is you must become somebody, right? Somebody, the most valuable asset. People just want to do what other, rich people do or wealthy people do, and they want to have what other like wealthy people have, right? But they don't understand the first step, right? Is you must be in order to do, in order to have, right? So it's just that simple formula, which takes again a lot of refinement, it takes a lot of change, and did that mindset switch, especially from self-employed or employee onto the right side with the business owner and the investor. It's not an easy switch, guys. It's not. Especially that's what I've learned. So
If you've been burned in the past by others, right? Like you put your trust in others, but you didn't actually know how to, find the right people and give them the correct um, like permissions to give them the right stuff that they're allowed to do.
exactly,
And if
yeah,
you like been burnt in the past, I feel like it's definitely hard to shift from a self-employed into the business owner aspect, because
yeah.
then you kind of have to, relinquish control and allow others to kind of jump in and uh, admit to the fact that you're giving someone something that they do better than yourself,
Hmm.
right? So you're giving them that for a reason. So
Yeah, no, for sure, right? I think at the end of the day, I learned this from Rob, is that it's the name of the game isn't supposed to be fair. Everybody kind of wants to have a fair life, right? And like to, hey, that's not fair, right? How should he have that? Everybody tries to blame somebody, right? Through their current situations, but they don't take time to reevaluate themselves, right? And to know that in order to be successful, it takes wins and losses, right? You are going to be taken advantage of. You're going to lose money through, again, trial and error, but it's what you do to take initiative to learn in those moments to get to the next step. But people do not have that awareness and that drive to keep going because they think failure, okay, well, if I failed now, I there's no way I can get back. But what happened, like that's it's the biggest lie, unfortunately, that they believe, and that's why they become stuck, right? Because they chose to, at the end of the day, they didn't take time to actually educate that it takes both winning and losing, right? This is a cool statement. Um, how does it go? It goes like, if everything, how's it go? Shoot, if we were to live in a fair environment, the less free we become. Think about it, right? Because okay, if you go back to how communism was, everybody had exactly the same. Everybody kind of just like, again, I never lived in communism, but I'm very blessed too. Not, yeah, I've lived in communism, but everything, they had everything at their disposal. You had the exact same thing as the person right next door, right? Um, and that's fair. Couldn't you consider that would be fair, right? To some extent. So how this capital mindset that you must structure, you move over to America, it's not fair, right? But it's just that it's an information age where you will win by how much information you have. And you know what? The wealthy know this, and that it takes winning and losing, right? And just to embrace where you're at and to grow, right? Like it's a whole rant, but I can keep going.
yeah, that's an interesting quote. Because if everyone has the same opportunities, but there is no opportunities, then you have no sort of freedom, right? No sort
Yeah,
of
exactly.
decision making that there's no difference between your decision making and someone else's because you would make the same decisions.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool to think about, right? Not too bad. I know that like, hmm, they always try to they always try to blame somebody. I feel like, right? There's always some kind of, again, they call it witch blaming or witch hunting. Sorry, that people who are uneducated, unfortunately, will always try to blame the rich or blame someone. We always try to blame someone for the reason why we're not intelligent or why we messed up, right? When they're at fault, right? If again, it's the common quote: if you think somebody else needs to change, you need to change, right? At the end of the day, it all relates to you have that freedom. Again, you're living in capitalism, right?
Yeah, there's
At
another
the end of the
quote
day.
where it is like, if a person you meet is a like a asshole or something like that. If a person you meet is an asshole, but everyone else you always meet is an asshole, then most likely you're the asshole. I think I kind of butchered that quote, but man, we just say butchered
We're
quotes.
just guys. We're
That's
just
how it
saying
goes
stuff
here.
off of our mind right now. Whatever comes, we're just flowing with. I'm being bombarded by information these last couple of months, bro. But I love it. I don't know. Just got to really seep into it. There's a lot. Again, you need to educate yourself in, and to just retain constantly. Just surround yourself with this. That's truly how you're going to become educated, which will help apply for your future. And you'll see, everybody thinks that you'll have to learn through like, oh, you hear all these testimonies that all these successful people were homeless, unfortunately, at the beginning, and they didn't have a lot. It's not homelessness that made them realize. No, I shouldn't say that. It's not homelessness that made them rich, right? But it's what that time made them realize, right? They had a huge mentality transformation, and that's what it is at the end of the day, right? Being able to transform. But the thing is, it's so tough for people and self-employed and employees to change that mindset because they're being engulfed by other statements and so much noise, and the thought of complacency. Oh, that's just a cherry on top too, right? Oh, I'm comfortable, I don't need to change, right? I'm secure, I have a secure job, I don't need to change. Well, now you're not open to the fact that there is so much more that you could understand and that you need to understand, because again, I truly don't believe that again we'll have all these freedoms in the next, in like just in the future, right? And that's why we have to capitalize it on it now. That's just my opinion, but don't take it for granted is basically what it is at the end of the day. um so
Yeah,
right, I know we
it's
just.
another reason why I think the deal house thing is going to be such a monumental moment because it's really giving us the ability to kind of break through all this the excuses of I don't have the time, I don't have the focus, I don't have this, I don't have that. But now we're getting thrown into an environment where all we have to do is do the thing that
Yeah,
we have to,
yeah,
right?
that's so good, honestly, right? Because learning through this time is exactly what the wealthy and the successful had to admit, right? They had to just literally engulf themselves in this environment and to seclude, again, isolate literally for a period of time. I'm not saying to live in isolation or anything, but to really embrace the grind in that time, right? And what it actually looks like, because you don't even realize with your passive thoughts to the things around you and the people you surround yourself with, how distracting life actually can become. Oh wait, I just have to go, right? Help my sister with something she's just asking me, right? Oh, I gotta unload the dishwasher, right? Chores around the house, whatever. Like, there could be quite a bit, right? So it can be a very distracting environment. I love how you mentioned that, and we can kind of transition to that. Like, that is going to be a great time to learn, to grow for sure, and to actually learn how to lock in, to actually indulge in and focus. What is the main thing here, right? Is I actually need to acquire the most things, right? We try to dream of all the business systems and the people management that you can have. At the end of the day, if sales aren't coming in, if calls aren't being made, I think the sales department, again, is the most important department at the end of the day, which is what drives revenue, which drives opportunity. So learning how to, like, just be like confident in that and to actually be the best you can in that will help you just scale in the future, right? What are your opinions?
think we're getting put in an environment where the only excuse is just ourselves. We can't
So
blame
good
anything else except ourselves in this case.
in this,
So
yeah, in this instance. That's so good, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are you kind of expecting for the deal house? What are you looking forward to?
uh, just breaking through the some sort of barrier, whether that's just like with no sort of you know thoughts in the back of your mind of
Hmm.
doubt and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
unnecessary fear of things that you don't actually fear. Because we've just kind of been, I feel like it's kind of just been grinded in our minds of this kind of victimhood. Blame someone else.
yeah.
It's not your fault. You're okay. You're fine. It's not your fault. So I think
We're
just
witch,
kind of
dude.
breaking
We're
through
witch
that.
hunters. We're
Yeah.
actually witch hunters. It's human psychology, bro. We don't like to blame ourselves, and truly, we don't like to take accountability. But again, that's what the wise will find is that you gotta take accountability and you gotta push through those humbling times, because that's where the real success is found, right? Is in the person that you become. Yeah, continue. That's good.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. Like, I'm really excited to see how I develop in this point. Right, I'm gonna be reading a lot when I don't have to work. So I'm just gonna try to grind through some books as well, and probably take some mindset books, but also some business books as well.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
which in the end of the day is kind of the same thing. So
Dude, okay, okay. I want to. I'm thinking about it, and this can be recorded, right? People will hear this, but again, at Deal House, again, well, let's bring. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of bringing some books as well for sure. Um, but let's see. We can kind of like strategize on stuff. Let's have some like talks. We can even record it, whatever, put on the podcast. But how we can actually take it into, right? It's so cool that we get to do this digitally and that we all found Ben through, just coaching virtually, and you can create wealth at the luxury of your home, right? But to actually like you don't know how much of an opportunity this is because this is it. Like this is the start of something new. I truly believe, right? And when we can actually come together in person to talk about how we can strategize and do better, dude, magic happens, and like who knows what can be built in those times, right? It's not like we have to abide strictly to what Ben's curriculum or follow. Again, that's the priority why we're there, 100%. But again, we have downtime. We have time to chat as well. Again, because we want to grow our own businesses and we want to generate that wealth. So I always see as an opportunity as discussing, creating, partnerships and cool ideas and systems that we could really grow upon, right? So get get a couple minds together. I know that two minds are always better than one, right? So we'll have a couple boys and let's just chat it up. Let's see the opportunity and dude, the opportunity we can create. I think it'll be pretty cool through our discussions, which we can record, or maybe they can stay lucrative, bro. Who knows?
yeah. Anything you're excited for, man?
Dude, yeah, honestly, just the conversation, like the value that will be exchanged, I truly believe, right? Um, through the grind, through also the vulnerability, right? Through our conversation, and um, I'm really hoping when I'm like again on that plane back home and just reflecting off of the trip that I am a step closer, right? And what that looks like, I'm not trying to get like, there is no secret, right? It's literally just grind, learn new things. Again, take accountability. Everybody asks what the secret is, right? To achieve this, right? What it is, it's a constant grind and constant growth mentally, physically, um, and even in your phone book too, right? Increase your phone book because your net worth is your network is your net worth or something like that, right? Um, which is very important. So surround yourself with people that are like-minded. I really just want to take a big piece out of this next trip and kind of implement that into my day-to-day um, basis and help grow the company, DK real estate on where we're at right now. So that's basically what I'm looking forward to, right? Through the conversation.
Going back on that thing where you said like, what's the secret? It's funny how even childhood movies they kind of hint on this but you don't really realize it until reflecting. Like Kung Fu Panda, what's
Hmm.
the secret ingredient to the dad's soup?
Yeah.
Well, the secret ingredient's nothing. There is no secret ingredient, and
Hmm.
that's the real secret right there. Is it seeing that there is nothing special about it? It's just it's just soup.
It's just soup, right? That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. It's nothing. It's just education and experience, practice, right? Because people again can't commit.
There's no
They
secret.
truly
The
can't
secret,
commit.
the secret is just the present moment. This
Dude,
experience at this. Huh?
there is no secret. The secret
Yeah.
is you.
All right. Now we're just trying to be
Yeah, I can
philosophical over
keep on
here.
going. You want me to go more? I'll do some more.
Uh,
Dude, guys, I hope you were buttered up with your runner-ups. Like, there's a lot of just, I mean, statements that were dropped. It could be false, it could be accurate. We're just brainstorming here, guys,
it's
and
up to your perception.
it's up to your perspective. Again, that's so good. Money is a perception, right?
All right,
Create it.
guys.
No, hey, dude, I'm just saying. You create the value, right? Create, don't earn. All right. You want me to keep going?
That's okay.
Oh, it's okay. I was talking. They had enough, guys. Okay, I'm done. I'm sick of this. No more, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another just hectic podcast, right? For just expanding into actually, you know what? I love this because we're putting effort in, just increasing advancing our current beliefs, right? Into conversing and to really solidify a structure, right? Which is what you guys should all be doing. Just keep practicing and keep connecting and challenge your beliefs, right? So, hope there was value within this. I don't know, like it was all over the place today, but
It's for us. The values for us. If they.
guys, this podcast is just for us, right? It's not for anyone else. Okay, if you find this, move on to the next podcast. We are not your runner-ups. We are our runner-ups. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. If you are watching, we love you guys. Stay tuned. We're gonna do some cool stuff for.
The fist bump. The fist
Oh
bump.
yes, yes, dude. We forgot. Ready? Hey, give me some.
Bang.
Oh, dude,
There
it's
you
so good.
go.
No, 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 no. Ready? Go.
Bang.
Okay. Yeah, just be like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to work
So
on that one.
yes, we will. We're gonna practice that in Arizona. Maybe we can actually get an in-person shot
Yeah.
instead of virtual. It's a bit tricky if you guys have tried that out, but whatever. Okay, I'm done.